Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. I went to the gym directly after finishing this book and I still don't know how I feel about it 1000%. So anyway, hello, welcome to the channel. I even got myself a Starbucks because I am that stressed about talking about this book. I just don't want to talk about it. Like, I literally don't want to talk about it, but because I have a video for Fourth Wing and I have a video for Iron Flame, I feel like I just need to do something quick to talk about Onyx Storm. Yeah, this was a weird one. This was a weird one, guys. So first off, this is going to be spoiler-free at the beginning, like completely spoiler-free for the whole series. If you haven't read any of them, you'll be able to watch the beginning of this review. You probably won't know what's going on like at all, like there's no context, but you'll be able to watch it without spoilers. Also, this review is coming from the perspective of somebody who gives Fourth Wing a 6 out of 5 stars. It is one of my favorite books of all times, and gives Iron Flame 5 out of 5 stars. I think it is phenomenal. I love it. So that is definitely a kind of not popular decision about Iron Flame, but I absolutely loved it. So moving in to Onyx Storm. Yeah, we're gonna talk about just things that I liked, didn't like, very vague, and then we'll be moving into broad spoiler things. Like, I'm not gonna go over the whole plot just because I just don't want to. I don't want to talk about this book that long. That is just too much for how I feel about this book. It's just, I really just want this to be quick. So stick around for now. I will tell you when the spoilers are coming up and pop it in the corner when we get to the spoilers. So first of all, I'm giving the book a 4 out of 5. It sounds like I'm giving it like a 1. I am giving it a 4 out of 5. The rest of this review is going to sound like I'm giving it a 1. But the reason for that is because I love this series so much. Like, I absolutely adore everything about it. And I am a bit harder on this book than I would be generally on like a different book that I would give a 4. So it is a 4. I was even like a 4.25 potentially. Like, I still really liked the book, but I also had a lot of problems with it. So things that I liked, I did enjoy obviously being back in the world. I thought it was very interesting. I liked the different locations that we ended up going on in this book. Obviously, I love the characters, love the dragons. I love the growth and the relationship dynamics that we had in here. And it was nice that we had a bit more this is both a like and a dislike. This is the first book in the series that I actually would classify as romantasy. Again, that's another hot take. I personally think that Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, especially Iron Flame, are actually fantasy books with a really good side romance plot. Obviously, the romance is super, super important, but to me, if you can take the romance out of a book, and generally the book could still happen without the romance, to me it's fantasy with a romance subplot. This book, Onyx Storm, is 1000% a romantasy, and that's where a lot of my problems kind of stem from. So partially, I do like that there was more romance in this one than Iron Flame, but I also think that we focused a little bit too much on the romance compared to what we should have been focusing on, which was more of the fantasy plot that I wanted to see in this book, continuing from Iron Flame. Because Iron Flame had a really, really good setup for fantasy related things, and I feel like it was a bit pushed to the wayside. Like I said, I love the traveling. I thought we got to see a lot of the continent in this book, which was really, really cool, and other things that were going on. And we did get quite a bit of answers. I also think my friend Marissa also read this. She listened to it the day it came out, and then she's doing her reread right now physically. Pretty much, I think, has solved the whole book. We'll get into that in spoilers. Obviously, nothing is guaranteed, but I'm pretty sure she's right. Like, man, she is so good at solving these things. She has been keeping track of all of the little tidbits that have been left for us, especially in Iron Flame. That's why Iron Flame is so important. Iron Flame is almost like a mystery. Iron Flame had so many spoilers for things that people didn't even realize, and it's literally all there. It's all there for us to read. Fourth Wing is the same way. If you go through and actually read very carefully, you'll find the answers in both of those books to anything that we learned in Onyx Storm, etc. It's crazy how much Rebecca Yarros kind of stuck things in there. The things that I didn't like, the first 75 pages, this is gonna sound like a bad joke, but it's not. I am being completely serious when I say this. It felt like I was having a stroke while reading the first 75 pages because I thought I had forgotten how to read. I would be reading like a paragraph and I'd be like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, it literally felt like my brain could not read, could not comprehend what was on the page. I literally switched to a different book to make sure something wasn't wrong with me. And I actually then went online after I kind of got past that issue. I went online and a lot of people were like, what's happening? Like, what is actually happening in these first 50 to 70 pages? Well, incomprehensible. Like, it was some of the worst writing and plotting I've ever read in a book, which was absolutely shocking. I honestly just feel like it's almost like Rebecca didn't know how to start the next book from all the trouble that we got into at the end of Iron Flame. And she was like, ooh, I want to get to this, but let me fix these two things first. They're going to be important later, I'm sure, but the things that were done in the first 70 pages were basically never brought up again in the rest of the book. And I was like, this is bizarre. Like, this is actually so bizarre. You almost didn't even need it. It literally was to just backtrack something that happened in Iron Flame that I think she regretted, kind of. So that was a big reason that it was at least a 4.5. Basically, I was at a 4.5 for most of the book because 0.5 away from the first 70 pages because they were awful. And then the rest of the book I really, really enjoyed, except I was very tense because of the thing that happened at the end of Iron Flame, which I don't love. I don't love reading a book where I'm feeling that, like, stressed. And that's why this book really just didn't do it for me, because what happened at the end of Iron Flame needed for my sanity to be resolved in this book, or at least get partially resolved, and we didn't get anywhere with it. That was a major issue for me. I also really did not like the ending of Onyx Storm. I thought it was such a, like, what even was that ending? Really, like, seriously, that ending was absolutely atrocious. It just did something that I absolutely do not like. I'm sure it has a greater purpose. I'm sure I'll end up liking it eventually, but I feel like the readers were robbed of a really important moment in the book with that ending. So I was not a fan of that. I'm actually pretty peeved about it, to be honest. So those are kind of my general thoughts. Again, I generally like this book. I had it as a 4.5 for most of the book, and then, God, that ending was rough. It did feel a bit like a filler book. Like, we definitely got a lot of answers. It almost felt to me, again, this is someone who loved Iron Flame, it almost felt to me like Fourth Wing and Iron Flame were the first book in the series, and now Onyx Storm is like that sequel middle book in the series that you're not sure exactly where to go from here. I don't like that this is a 5-book series. I think that this could have been condensed down into a trilogy, and it would have been fine. Like, just do 3 800-page books. Or keep Fourth Wing separate, and then just a lot of fat could have been cut from Iron Flame and from Onyx Storm. Combine those two to make the second book, and then have a chunky 800-page third book. I just don't think you needed to draw stuff out the way it was in Iron Flame and this book to get a whole 5 books. I don't know how you're gonna do another 2 600-page books. It just seems like so much for what's going on. It just is. It feels like we're just gonna get a bunch of random stuff in the next 2 books again, or at least in the next book. I'm a little peeved, if you couldn't tell. I still love the book, but I am a little peeved. Okay, we're gonna be moving into spoilers because that's really all that I can talk about without talking about spoilers. And again, it's just gonna be general spoilers. So if you have not read this book, if you have not read Fourth Wing, Iron Flame, etc., and you want to go read them, definitely go away from this video, because we are moving into spoilers for the whole series, because you can't talk about Onyx Storm without talking about the first 2 books, especially Iron Flame. So moving into spoilers, 3, 2, 1. Okay, Xaden being Venom, I needed that to be resolved in this book, just for my own sanity. I think my biggest thing is that I didn't even need him to be cured. I just needed them to, like, know how to do it. So then maybe the 4th book was like a quest to go finally do that. I needed something relating to that, and all we got was him getting so much worse. And then the ending with this stupid getting married and us not seeing it. Like, I know we're gonna get that scene later. We're gonna get the scene if she restores her memories, or we're gonna see it through Xaden's eyes. He's gonna show her or something like that, or we'll have a bonus chapter. The fact that we were robbed of that experience, I have a feeling I know why. Marissa and I have some theories. We're gonna talk about theories towards the end. I guess they'll kind of be wrapped up in there. Our theory is that potentially, like, number 1, he doesn't want her to remember him looking super Venom. And then number 2, we actually think Bodhi is Venom. We think Bodhi channeled to help Xaden, because he talks about how he's got another brother, because Panchek ended up being the traitor, which, like, I was kind of about that. And then the Sage or whatever was, the Sage and Panchek were talking about a new brother, and Xaden was talking about how could he do this when he saw me going through this and he still chose this option. So we personally think it's Bodhi because we didn't know where he was at the end. They didn't mention him at the end, I don't think. And because he married Violet, he gave her Tyrandor, and normally it was supposed to go to Bodhi. So why isn't it going to Bodhi? So we think it's Bodhi. we think Bodhi potentially is one of the Venin because Garrick, oh no, Garrick was unaccounted for, wasn't he? But he was with Imogen while this all was going on, so I assume he's okay. But our two guesses obviously would be Garrick or Bodhi because it's someone close enough to Xaden to see what he's been going through and knew what he was doing. And that's a very few number of people. So yeah, I assume Bodhi. But yeah, them getting married and Imogen erasing her memory and saying Violet was the one who wanted her to do it, that devastated me. I did not like that. I hated that. I hated that Xaden channeled to the point that he did. I don't know where they're gonna go from this. This feels unfixable, which I don't like. Our other theory that pretty much we're like 100% sure is accurate because Rebecca has given so many hints to this, it is painful. Wielding from the ground is what causes Venin. We think that wielding from the air is what you're allowed to do. Like, they always talked about, if you go back to Fourth Wing and you go into Iron Flame, Violet talks all the time about channeling from the air. And then Kara had to tell her, no, you're not doing that, you're channeling it from your dragon. And then she starts more focused channeling from her dragon. But she's definitely pulled from the air, and if, you know, they went through all the aisles, and she was able to channel from the sky. So we're pretty sure, because there's like literally a thing that says the sky saves us all or something like that. So we're pretty sure that anyone can basically wield from the sky, but Venin choose the ground, which we think it's just easier. So they think potentially that if Xaden wield properly from the sky, that may be like a reverse kind of thing. We don't know, but apparently that's probably what it is that everyone will be saved if they just wield from the sky and not the ground. So there's, again, go check. There's tons of things about that in these 3 books. But yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. So let's see what else. Going back to the beginning, yeah, those first 75 pages were just bizarre with them melting part of the Wardstone. Is that what it's called? Wardstone? And that was just weird. Like, it was just very poorly plotted out. It wasn't written very well. And it seemed super random for the rest of the book. Obviously, they did take something off of the ward that potentially could be important later. I'm sure we'll come back to it, but I hope it's written better than that was. Then we kind of, again, went to the Isles, and the Isles were interesting. I think killing Traeger was a huge mistake. Normally I'm okay, like, I'm sad and depressed about what Rebecca does with killing people, but Traeger was legitimately a mistake to kill him because finally Kat was not dealing with Xaden. And it was like a breath of fresh air not dealing with the Kat Xaden situation. And then you kill him. And it's like, you can't let us have anything nice, can you? I hated that. And then Quinn's death. I get Quinn's death. I was devastated during Quinn's death, but I got it at least. So that made sense. I thought the stuff with Theophany was kind of weird and kind of out of nowhere. Like, I don't know, I didn't love that either. But it did give us the whole fact that Venin and magic is all about balance. So we now have a new shadow wielder, which is really depressing. That made me really upset. I didn't like that. But then we have, yeah, Theophany is a storm wielder to mirror the mom, or the mom was actually made a storm wielder to mirror the Venin Theophany. And then we learned all about how Violet apparently was promised to Dun, whatever. And that's kind of becoming a thing. I don't know about how much I love like goddess intervention kind of stuff. If we get too much into gods and goddesses, I'm not going to be happy. I don't love that in my fantasy books. I never have, never will. But I do think it was an interesting way of killing Theophany by having the piece of altar and sticking it into her. I love that Eric has turned out to be a precog. I think that is really, really cool. I love that. We are suspicious that Melgren could be Venin, and that's what magic is doing, the balance. But there also could be a balance between Basgiath and Orisha, potentially. Not 100% sure. So there's just a lot. There was a lot that happened in this book. And then we met the Irids, who are all dicks. They're all terrible. And oh my god, when Andarna broke the bond, devastated. I think I cried the hardest during that compared to anything else that happened in the book. I was like sobbing. It was so emotional, that moment. I didn't think it would be that bad because it's not like she died. But when she broke the bond, I was like, oh my god, like actually, oh my god. Yeah, I'm trying to think of other things, but they're really, again, they're like, there's a ton of stuff and a ton of information, but those are like kind of the big things, especially that ending, that I really wanted to just touch upon. The islands kind of drove me nuts, to be honest. Like, I kind of liked it. I liked going to all the different islands, but it felt almost pointless, except for the one where we went to Dunn and we found out about the hair and how she was promised potentially to Dunn. And now the dad's seeming suspicious. Asher Sorrengail is seeming quite suspicious about what his motives are and what he was doing. And it sounds like the mom and him very much disagreed on his decision to take Violet to them and promise her and dedicate her. Also, we're pretty sure, again, Marissa and I talked about this whole time, we're pretty sure that Violet has all silver hair. They didn't mention it as far as I remember from the end of the book, but we're pretty sure she's silver hair now. She's been like fully dedicated, I guess. And that was like a warning on the piece of altar, is I hope she doesn't have to use this because there's other paths available. But yeah, I think she's like dedicated now, which is interesting. I don't know what that means. But Andarna made a thing saying like, don't burn her. So I don't know, like, I don't know. There's a lot of weird stuff happening. There's like a ton of weird stuff happening. And again, none of the stuff that I wanted happened. Really just all the Xaden stuff. And then I don't know why Andarna came back so fast. Like, she left and she came back so fast. So I feel like she found out that they were jerks and maybe came back to protect Violet. I don't know. I thought that was a bit odd. Okay, I'm jumping in really fast here. I'm actually editing the Onyx Storm video. And I realized I like totally forgot to bring up like one of my favorite things that happens. And that's Dane's character in this book. I love what was done with Dane's character because he was practically the punching bag this entire book. It was so funny. He was getting dragged from place to place and just kind of like, okay, and like just going with them. Xaden I did not pick up on this the first time, but Marissa picked up on it. Xaden buys Violet Deverelli silk, and it's just like a very sexy silk. And then he has like a garment made for her, but I did not catch it. He goes into the shop and drags Dane with him because he doesn't speak Crovelish, and Dane does. So actually, Dane was the one who had to buy and haggle for the silk for Violet's nightdress, and that is so funny. That is so funny. I was dying when she told me that. That is the funniest thing ever. And then also, I 100% forgot to mention my favorite part of this book, which was Xaden's jealousy arc with Halden. So funny. And the fact that Halden kept getting put in a basket to be carried around. Oh my god. This book was actually so legitimately funny that I so appreciated that. Like, there's a lot of funny moments in Fourth Wing and there's funny moments in Iron Flame, but this book was actually hilarious at moments between Halden, Xaden, and Dane just being dragged from place to place. And then I loved at the end when all of the Relic kids, the Rebellion kids, were showing off their second signets, because we found out that basically everyone with a Relic tattoo got a second signet. And Dane is always there to see it, and he's like, we're going to talk about that later. I saw that, we're going to talk about that later. And it happens multiple times throughout the book, and it is so funny. So I love what she did with Dane's character, because he almost becomes this like, if you've seen Family Guy, he's like Meg from Family Guy now, where everyone just like makes fun of him and drags him places. And I love that. I think that is the perfect way to fix the damage that was done to his character in Fourth Wing. So Dane was hilarious to follow in this storyline, and I very much appreciated that. So that was kind of my little thing that I totally forgot to bring up, was Dane the punching bag and comedy relief in this. Xaden's jealousy, which was perfection. I wish there was a little bit more, like we could have gone a little bit farther with that, but what we did get was amazing. And then Halden constantly in the basket just cracked me up. So that's my little thing that I totally forgot to talk about. And yes, back to the regular review. I think that's about it. Like I told you, I really did not want to talk about this book for that long, just because I'm honestly sick of hearing about it. With all of the Target stuff going on and the release being such a mess, and then people honestly, I'm kind of pissed off, because people on like TikTok, like I would scroll, I try to stay off of book talk, but sometimes it pops up on my algorithm and I try and scroll really fast, but literally I scrolled and someone immediately said a spoiler. Thank God I was finished with the book. But like, it was immediate. There was no like, oh, spoilers for Onyx Storm. No, it was spoiler. And I was like, I literally didn't even have time to swipe. I was so mad. So I'm honestly just sick about talking about this book. I'm sick of talking about this book. I hope the next one doesn't come out for another 2 years because I don't want to deal with this book or this series for a while because I'm sick of how people are acting around this book. People are acting up about this book and the situations that are surrounding it. So I'm kind of just sick of it. But because I had the other two, I had to put one out and talk about it. But yes, it is 4 stars. There were a lot of things that I liked, a lot of things that I didn't like. Yeah, I'm just disappointed. Like, it's a really good book, but I am disappointed that this is what came out after waiting like a year and a half. That makes me so sad. So anyway, I am excited for the next one. I will be reading the next one. I probably will reread this one. If I love books 4 and 5, this book potentially could go up to a 5, just depending on how we resolve a lot of the stuff that made me stressed out in this book. So this could eventually be a 5 if we fix some things in books 4 and 5. So that is everything that I have for you today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys loved Onyx Storm if you got your hands on a copy and you were able to read it already. Make sure to subscribe so you miss any future content. I've got a lot of stuff going on as usual. I'm trying to do more singular book reviews this year because I just really enjoy them. I think they're a lot of fun and they're kind of like way more low stress than other videos. They're just a good time. And that's kind of what I plan. Like whenever I eventually do a Patreon, I do plan to do like individual book reviews on the Patreon a lot. So it just depends whenever that I decide to do that. And yeah, that is everything I have for you today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you like the video if you enjoyed it, and make sure you leave a comment down below about what you thought about the book, what you think about the series so far, kind of what you want to see in the next one. Definitely put like spoilers and then kind of put like a couple of spaces and then talk about it if you want to talk about spoilers and stuff. So that is everything. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and I'll see you guys in the next one.